we go. Hi, my name is Maria McDuffie Clark. I'm the Assistant Director of Multicultural Affairs here at UMass Lowell. And today we are speaking with three wonderful BIPOC women about their career. And they are going to introduce themselves, what their current title is, and then we will chat about how they got there based on their identity as well, which has been a salient motivator to where we got there. So with that ado, I would like to first start with my friend Masada here. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Masada Jones. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I think that's it right now.
Your title currently?
Yeah, okay. And I work at the Center for Hope and Healing, where I am the Senior Manager of Prevention and Education.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Hi, my name is Ryan Thomas Ward. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am currently stationed in Plano, Texas, working for Liberty Mutual as a personal lines underwriter, and I'm also the co-lead for programming for Pride at Liberty National.
Thank you. And Maria?
Maria Medina. I'm an academic advisor for Northern Essex Community College, and my pronouns as she, hers.
Thank you. And just moving from all sectors, from nonprofit to corporate to higher ed, we're going to dive deep about how you got there. But first, let's talk about what inclusion means to you. What does it mean for you to identify as BIPOC in your career? Is that important to you or not? And maybe we'll start back with Masada.
Okay. For me, before I'm even a woman, I am Black. So I don't even subscribe to BIPOC. I am a Black woman, and prefer to be referred to as such. And inclusion, for me, especially because I work for a sexual assault agency, is being reflective of our community. So we know that all folks that are entering our building are going to be represented and included in our mission and the work that we are doing.
Excellent. Thank you. Ryan?
Okay, yeah, that warms my heart. My wife works for a domestic violence shelter, and I'm sure that y'all are dealing with similar situations. For me, it's not only providing the space for people to be their full selves, it's also providing the opportunity to do that, and in a way that is comfortable for that person. I think that also you can hear somebody talk about what they need and their experience until they're blue in the face. But if you're not willing to implement that for meaningful and impactful change, then you just wasted that person's time. I am an African-American cisgender woman. I am happy to identify as that. I think it is important for people to know that about me, especially because a lot of the times on my job, I'm on the phone with people who can't necessarily see me. And I've heard some very interesting things from people, and I've had to, just because based on what they assume an African-American woman sounds like, they don't think that's me. And so we've had some real interesting follow-up emails. But it's important for me to express that because I'm very proud of who I am. I was raised by a woman who was, some would consider she was passing, but she was so proud to be Black. So I'm so proud to be Black with her. So it's very, very important for people to know.
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, definitely. That's right. And Maria?
So I'm Latina, so I'm Afro-Dominican. That's what I have embraced in the last couple of years, to be honest. I feel that that's something that Dominicans struggle with, to say I'm Black. I think something that it's not that we struggle. I think it's the history that we have is not as people are not proud of it most of the time. So I think embracing that I'm a Afro-Latina is just showing who I am and honoring my ancestors also. And for me, inclusion is being at the table and have equal rights and opportunities in the workplace or in the community. I work in the Lawrence campus. I live in Lawrence, and my students being able to see themselves in me I think is what I'm trying to show, because it was something that I didn't have growing up.
And thank you for sharing that, Maria, because I know that's, I mean, the history of colonization is how we got here, right? So it's hard to, and how we all kind of identify and process that day to day. So I appreciate it. And that actually kind of semi segues into like what folks have been talking about, but what are some of the new or diverse groups of people in your organization? What challenges does that bring, or has it always been diverse, or are you the only diverse person? So that could vary in all of your different sectors that you work in. So maybe Maria, if you don't mind kind of talking about.
For us, Northerners has done a very good job in the last couple of years of bringing people of color, people representing the student population that we serve. We are a Latino serving institution, especially in the Lawrence campus. I would say, most people speak Spanish and other languages like Creole or Brazilian. And it's nice to see that it is changing. That the students could see themselves on the staff that is serving them, in faculty and leadership. Also, we have our VP is Latina, which is great, because it shows that they also working with a mission, which is inclusion and providing those spaces for the population that we serve with, especially in the Lawrence community.
And Brian, you're just in the middle, but you can tell.
I don't mind being in the middle. It's okay. Liberty is a fantastic place to work. I love working at Liberty. Even days when I am like on my job as an underwriter, I'm like, this is not a great day. I do not see myself leaving this company for quite some time. And when I first started researching moving to a different carrier, because I've worked for other insurance companies in the past, I needed a carrier where I could bring every aspect of who I am to my job. And Liberty has done that. Like I said, I am on the national committee for Pride, which is our ERG, our employee resource group, that specializes in LGBTQIA+. We have a deep focus on transgender people of color this year. We want to make sure that we are really providing space for those people, not just for us to have them like featured in Pride Month, but all year round. I'm so proud that Liberty is now paying for facial feminization surgery. I'm like,
incredible.
I mean, y'all, I cannot even. We have organizations, LIDA, which is for the advancement of our African-American employees, Amigos, which is for our Latino and Hispanic employees. We have Valor, which is for our veterans. We have LEAP, which is for our Asian American employees. I shouldn't say Asian American, for our Asian employees. And we also have ABLE, which is near and dear to my heart. I am very open about the fact that I have autism. And I like to show people what an autistic person can look like, especially since women of color are severely underdiagnosed. And so ABLE is for our differently abled people who work at Liberty. And I'm one of those people. So y'all, if you're looking for a job, I'm telling you, it is. If you hear somebody say something that sounds a little crazy, don't worry. Hopefully you won't have to go to HR, but if you need something, like, Liberty has your back, and it makes me feel so valued at work. I can't say enough good things about my company. Wow. It's great.
That is incredible, really. Wow.
Lots of, like, it seems like they're meeting the challenge. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Awesome. And
well, my organization is very small, so we don't have, I feel like we do operate very much with intentionality. So we are currently a team of 14. And I would say that being a non-person of color is the minority at our place of employment, which I think it's a very much intentional. And we have, again, the nature of our work is we work around supporting survivors of sexual assault. So we have like a resilience program to make sure that we have like little pods, so that we're able to like build ourselves up and and also like talk about different areas of our lives of like, where do we need support? Where are we going? And kind of just try to remain resilient, which can be a struggle in the work. I'm trying to think of the other program that we have.
Like you have the one for the youth, right? Like
Yeah, well, we have like after school programming for young people as well. I'm just for staff programming, but we also try to just be very supportive of folks in general, since we are a very small team, to make sure that folks are showing up whole and that as the whole that they are well. So we have a lot of wellness programs to make sure that we're okay, because the work is tough.
Yeah. I will move it into like, because I think for each of your jobs, like my next question was going to be like, how did you tackle any like challenges? But it sounds like there has been some work done in the last like few years, or even with the company, just being very intentional. So that is just really great news to hear. And I think miles in advance like where we were.
Right.
So and I might start with Ryan with this question, but like, what are some common misconceptions that people have, and how have you combated these misconceptions or communicated those more effectively about your identity or your work that you do?
Yeah, so I would say that probably the first thing that comes to mind is has to do with my autism, because I think sometimes people treat me as if I need kid gloves. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm fine. I like to really educate people on some of the terminology about autism. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you have Asperger's," and I say, "No, we don't say that." And then they'll say, "Oh, you're high function." I say, "No, we don't say that. I just require a level of care." And so I think some of the misconceptions are sometimes people feel as if I can't do something. My boss does not feel that way, but
Right.
my workload. But sometimes in some of the other spaces that I operate in, even with some of the ERGs, people may feel, and I appreciate the accommodation. I just would prefer if I had the opportunity to voice if I needed it. So I think showing people that I am able to do things like this, like speak, and if I know that it's kind of an intimate setting, but I did a panel last week for the president of our company, and I was fine. It doesn't bother me. So showing people what autistic women can do, showing people especially what an African American autistic woman looks like. I don't think a lot of people have experience with that. I think that's probably the most important thing that I do every day, is showing people that my brain functions differently, but it functions just as well. And this is what autism looks like for me.
Thank you. And Maria?
I think for me, especially being in the Lawrence campus, and most of the population are Latinos, I think a lot of people that doesn't speak the language, they would assume that everybody that doesn't speak the language are Latino, and it's not. We have a population of Portuguese, Haitians, Africans. That most African countries, their first language is English, but some are not, or even Middle Eastern. And they sometimes assume, and I think that's something that the college has done really well on educating and finding the right resources and communicating the best you can. If it's just even by Google Translator, let's make it happen. Let's provide the information that they need in order to help them to go where they need to be. So that's one of the misconception. And the good thing is that Nordense has a ESL program that helps students get themselves acclimated to the language and to learn the language. So it's really good. But I feel that sometimes people already assume that if you don't speak the language, they automatically assume that it's a Spanish speaker, and it's not.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Thank you.
I think for me and my field, I think that folks assume that everybody doing the work is a survivor. And I think that people come to the work with many different, parts of them and many different reasons as to why they are called to do the work. So I think that we always try to give folks an open mind and to just allow them language of how to respond to disclosures rather than making assumptions, and holding space. So we are actually going through our volunteer program. It's called Healing Core. So everyone gets trained to be a volunteer and support our 24-hour hotline. I'm currently our backup this week. So thankfully no calls are coming to me. Our volunteers have been killing it. I haven't had to be on too much on call, but we do have a training program and helping people to understand that many folks are just here to volunteer and support, people who are at the margins.
Thank you. And this question, I'm going to kind of frame it in this way, just so that we get to know all of you a little bit more. But what's one piece of advice that you would give a student here, a BIPOC woman student here, how you got or how your career was shaped to how you got to where you are now? What's one piece of advice as you were moving through your pathway that you would give to someone else? So maybe I will start in the middle with Ryan. And then I like to bounce around as moderators, y'all.
So network. I did not see the value in networking when I first started my career in insurance in 2012. Ooh, y'all. Okay. So I didn't see the point of it. I thought it was for white men. If I'm just being honest with you. I thought it was like drinks after work, get together with the wives on the golf course. I didn't know it was for me. And I found that my career that I'm currently in is because of networking. So working in the ERG, Employee Resource Group, has given me a lot of access to people that I never thought I would be in a room with. I mentioned last week that I spoke to the president of a division of our company, and I got to have a meeting with him and the president of Diversity for Liberty Mutual. Being in those spaces is because of that ERG. And I got into underwriting from claims. I've been in claims for quite some time through my ERG. So the person that was like my pride boss, we say we have our day job and our gay job. So my gay job boss got me to thinking like claims is a bit hectic. Do you maybe want to do something that is a little bit of a slower speed, but it's very hard to get into underwriting. And was able to get side-by-sides. I was able to get interview tips. I was able to do like a pre-interview, get my resume looked over, all of that because of the networking that I had in my ERG. So I would say if you don't feel like networking is for you, try it. And if you don't know how, get yourself a good mentor and ask them how, because it's not as easy it's not as easy as just saying, okay, I want more people to know my name. You need to make sure you're doing it in the right way. So get someone who you see as excelling, someone, if you have the opportunity, who looks like you or who you can see a bit of yourself in, and ask them, like, how do we navigate this? But networking is huge for me.
Thank you so much. So how about we hear from Maria?
For me, working with students, especially first generation student, is learning how to advocate for themselves. I think is sometimes students come in, they don't understand the college life. They don't know how to, reach out to professors if they're having an issue. They just have a hard time asking for help. And then when I meet with them, I provide all the resources that they need in order to be successful. But I always tell them the resources are there, but if you don't reach out, it's not going to change anything. So advocating, being proactive with their studies, not waiting for last minutes to do things, because I had that help. Growing up, I was a first generation student, low income, and I found those spaces and those people that really walked me through it until I learned to do it by myself. And that's what I'm trying to do with the students that I serve, just providing the resources that they need in order to be successful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. Masada.
All right. For me, I would say show up to the things that interest you. So how I currently got in the position that I'm in, I was actually hosting co-hosting a TV show or the public access channel called Kindred Conversations, Living Black in Lowell. And so we had my current executive director came on, and I was hearing about the work that they were doing at the Center for Hope and Healing, and I was like, hold up. I didn't even have y'all before, name change, all these things. But it was just doing something that I love, which is talking about Blackness, living in a city like Lowell. I love Lowell, born and raised, and I want to see more Black folks here and thriving. And I encourage young people, especially, or folks in general, to show up to the things that interest you, because I think that's where you're going to meet your people. And if not, then maybe you need to create the thing that interests you. And so then folks can, come and see you and maybe you're shining and they appreciate it.
What are some, oh, sorry. Thank y'all for those because that's actually excellent advice. And I'm like, this is me. I'm like, moderating. This is like, but I want to get so much good info.
No, of course.
Yeah. Because it's really, I echo everything that y'all have said. This is what I had the same thought with networking, that it's just after drinks or like whatever, but like it's almost misconceptions of like, how do we get here, like that kind of thing. But for my next question, I'm just gonna kind of skip over because y'all have, as excellent, wonderful BIPOC women in general, y'all have already answered many of the questions. So the next one is, what are some specific ways that you've advocated for change or the successes that you've had in your different positions now? Because it sounds like there's been a lot of success rather than facing any kind of, not to say that there aren't any challenges, but it sounds like the challenges have been met. So like, what can you tell me about some of those success stories that you've been able to advocate for change, or that the change was there? And then maybe I will start with myself.
Going back to me. Some of the changes that we've made. I think that for us and our work, again, we're a small team. So we've noticed that folks have been leaving the organization and been saying that they want to see something different, right? So feel like we have different practices in place at work. Like I said, we have the resilience practice, we have a walking group, we take stretch breaks, all these things. So we're like, well, we also went back into the office 4 days a week, and then we saw morale drop, right? So we're like, maybe we need to go back to being 3 days. And so I'm on the leadership team, and I was like, we need to be mindful of like what folks are saying and what we're actually seeing. So that was one of the things that we're going to actually switch up for next month. And I would say, was it successes?
Yeah, any successes that you had with that, or you can tell me any challenges.
Yeah, the challenge turned to like, I think that we're going to see a different thing soon, because I think when you feel heard in your organization, you operate in a different way, or at least I do. Let me speak for myself. And then the other thing is just, I feel like our numbers from coming from, the pandemic to now, that we are supporting more survivors, and survivors are coming into the office for counseling again, which is very nice. We're still struggling, unfortunately, to bring youth into the building. It seems like, I don't know what is going on with young people, but it's really been a struggle yes, we're able to meet them where they're at, and to get them to come to us, regardless of what the incentive is. It has been really hard to get them in the building. So that I don't know what the solution is, but we are continuing to troubleshoot and try things on.
Yeah. Thank you. And then Maria, I'll bring that question to you.
I think for us, it's just enrollment, just like you said, bring students back to our numbers. Before COVID, it was down, but now I think it's even a little bit more. So the college has been doing really well, and going out there and educating and going to the different fairs and high school and stuff like that in order to bring students in, and also keeping them here. Retention. So I think that's a challenge that not just Northern SS has, but a lot of higher ed institutions are struggling right now.
For sure. Definitely. And Ryan?
I would say working for a very large, well-known company,
there's a lot of red tape. So it's not, I can't just call and be like, can we do this? There's a lot that you have to do in order to get something approved. One of the things that I'm most proud of that we did within Pride, and I cannot speak to how important employee resource groups are. But we have been fighting for this for a while. And as a person who, I lost my mother when I was 20. Maria, my mom actually worked in community college. She was a college professor, so connect there. Yeah, I know all about advocating for students. Like I said, my mom was real proud to be Black, so she always the people of color in there with her. But our bereavement time was 3 days, and I was like that. If I had had 3 days when my mother passed away, y'all just wouldn't have seen me anymore. Like, I would not, I mean, I'll see you when I see you. Either I'm employed or not. I don't particularly care. And I just thought that that was absurd. We had additional time for if your child died, but they had to be a child that was postpartum, I guess. I should know this. I'm pregnant. But a child that was
Congratulations.
Thank you. A child that was actually born, so not for miscarriage or a pregnancy loss, then or a spouse. And so I just thought this is ridiculous. We don't cover pregnancy loss at all. That's absurd. Pregnant people losing their child, I don't care what stage of the pregnancy it's in, it's devastating for a lot of people. So we have now had that changed. I'm so excited, y'all. This year we now have 5 days, which I think is still not enough. You still get the 20 days for a death of a child or death of a spouse, but we've opened the door with our legal team and presented them with the business reason why we need to allow employees to have more time off. So we are already planning on going back and being like, all right, 5 days isn't enough. Like, let's go for 10 now. So getting the door open was amazing, but that process took a year and a half. Like, it's because there's like, it has to go through so many channels, and you have to see the business need for it, not just the fact that you think it's wrong. So that's what's difficult, is the steps we have to go through in order to get stuff approved.
I'm gonna tweak my next question too, just based on like our discussion and conversation. So one of the things that I've struggled with in my career, and I was curious about other women, is that, or other BIPOC women, being tokenized in the professional setting. And then, you know, that token voice, is it lost or is it amplified? I'm not sure if that's a positive or negative, but have you ever felt that way? Do you feel that way now? And how has your employer made you feel involved without that tokenized feeling, if that's possible? So I know that's a loaded question, but like, I gotta know. I really gotta know.
I can take it. I would say not. I would say definitely not in my current employment, but I would say as a younger person, because I'm also a poet. So I felt like for everything, folks were like, "Oh, you want to perform? Oh, you want to MC this thing, or you want to host this thing?" And so I had to really learn to say no. But for a while there, I was like just taking the opportunities, because it was like, "Oh, I want to perform. Of course, like I'll perform. Like I wrote this poem specifically for this event." But I really had to learn to, like, every opportunity is not a good opportunity. Nor are folks always well-meaning. So I definitely felt tokenized, I would say, in my younger years, with being like so eager too, right? So like eager to please, eager to be at the forefront, and being like, actually, I don't think I need to be there. Yeah.
Thank you. How about Maria? And I'll go first.
So for me, I have never felt that way. I feel I've been lucky enough that I live in the Lawrence community, which most people are Latino, and I have worked here all my life, or my professional life has been here. So I feel very lucky to feel that way. But I think probably, I would say my college years, that's when I felt it. Yeah. That's when I felt it. But in the workplace, I've been very lucky not to, so which is great.
Thank you. All right.
I felt it, and I think I was like, bring it on. Like, I loved it. Say that, but I felt tokenized, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Mhm.
I consider myself, I always tell people I'm the diversity unicorn because I'm Black and I'm gay and
Yep.
I'm a child of a veteran and I'm autistic. Like, what do you need me to do?
Wow.
Because I can slip into that, whatever you need. And I literally used to tell my leaders, tokenize me because
Wow.
what do you want me to do? Because they were flying me all over the country, and I was like, no, I'll do
Where
that.
can we go?
Wait,
Oh.
But then I realized that
We're going about this one.
free trips, company credit card, let's go.
Yeah.
But I realized that I wasn't creating space for other people like me. And I saw the value in allowing other people to have that opportunity, because before me, there was someone else who they wanted to do all that stuff. And that person stepped aside and said, wait a minute, maybe we can get somebody else. So it doesn't make me any less valuable to my ERG or to the company to say, maybe we should try to do somebody else this time. I'm still very grateful for the opportunities that I have. I see myself moving into bigger spaces, which is great because I can make space for people who are just starting out. But I've had to, I don't tell them to tokenize me anymore. To kind of step back and be like, let's give somebody else an opportunity to do this, because somebody else is who you were 3 years ago, just waiting for someone to take a chance on them.
Very good. Yeah, it's you. Like, it feels like something when you're younger, you're like, I gotta take this on. I got it because like, who else will? But now it's like, actually, let's like highlight everyone. Yeah, definitely. So kind of towards one of my last questions. I promise there's only a couple more, but what has helped you get to where you are? What's been influential, effective, in the forefront? And again, just getting some advice for the students that will be watching this, that you want them to go in the similar direction, because it sounds like everybody on this call kind of has at least found their pathway where they're in a good spot at their career. So yeah, what has gotten you there? What's been the influence? Let's go with Maria.
I think for me has been family support and friends, and also colleagues. It's very crucial when you have a good support system that you could bounce ideas, but also could listen to you and hear your story when you're having a hard day. And also just finding the time to really know what they really want, and create those spaces and those opportunities in order to get there. Sometimes students, they like I said, advocating. They have a hard time, especially this generation. I feel they have a hard time coming across and asking for what they want. That sometimes they stay in the sidelines, just waiting for something to come into, fall into their lap. And nobody's going to give you a opportunity if you don't ask for it, or at least they see that you are putting yourself out there and do everything that you can in order to make that opportunity happen for you. So advocating and being proactive on looking for the opportunities that they want in their life or career.
Thank you, Maria. Brian?
I would say be really aware of your mental health. I worked for another carrier. I will not say who it is, but I worked for another very large carrier, and I was hospitalized because of how stressed I was. And in the hospital, I was asked, when are you coming back?
Wow.
And it's not worth it. The people, when I was in college and people would say like, no amount of money is worth it, I'd be like, you don't know how much money I'm talking about. Like, oh, wait a minute. It's much worth it. And then I realized as a professional, is like, oh no, I will live off of my savings. Like, I absolutely not. So be really aware of your mental health and make that, if you're working for a company that doesn't want to talk about that or doesn't have something in place for you to be able to take a break or a breather or something, or maybe switch you into a job function that's better for your mental health, then you need to look at a different company. Do not stay where you are not valued. And your health, your mental health like the most important thing. You are the most important thing. So trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. And take care of yourself mentally, because the results of not taking care of yourself can be so devastating. Do it sooner rather than later. To just take care of you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, first, I echo and appreciate what both of y'all have said. And for me, I feel like my career path has been a little different because I was like an artist doing poetry work and then doing community organizing work. So a lot of the opportunities that have been afforded, or granted to me, have been because I've been involved in the community, volunteering and doing other things. So I would definitely encourage folks to get involved. Again, if there's something that interests you, go do a little bit of networking. Even if sometimes like I'm that person that I'm just going to scroll on my phone for a little bit and wait till that one individual comes up to me and then get my feet wet, a little bit. Because I can be a little on the reserve until that first person comes up to me to start chit-chatting. And I would encourage folks to just go out there. And again, if it's something that interests you, to get involved in some way, because that's, again, a lot of opportunities are with talking with people.
Yeah. And then my very last question. Is there anything that we're leaving out here that needs to be addressed? Is there's something burning that is missing from our conversation that you just need to tell our younger selves, whatever it may be? Yeah. Anything, any lasting words too, that kind of stuff.
You have the right to be choosy. It's also, just because an opportunity comes to you doesn't mean that you have to take it. I think, Ryan, you spoke a little bit about that, is to be able to be like, does this make sense for me? Is this what I really want to do? And I would really encourage folks to sit with things rather than just being quick to say yes, because you have the right to choose.
I think that letting people know, responding to certain situations with love, but also I tell people quite frequently, I'm not your Black history teacher. It's not my obligation to educate you on things. If you have a question about my own personal experience, if you have a specific question for me, fantastic. I'd love to dialogue about it if it's in a respectful way. But if you want to know the top 5 Black leaders that are referenced, that's, you can Google that, and that's you don't ask me that. To tell people to do their own research. If you don't have at least base knowledge of what you're coming to ask me about, then you probably shouldn't ask me about it, because you don't care enough to actually find something out on your own. So you really just want me to do the work for you. And I'm busy. I'm too
busy. Busy.
Encourage people to do the work on their own in love. Don't be don't ask me that, unless it's the 5th time of them asking that.
Right.
Yes.
But encourage them to, if you really want to know about this, then you'll find you'll figure some stuff out. I promise you will.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. Maria?
What I encourage people to do is to keep learning, to keep always finding ways to learn from either other cultures or other way of thinking, because we tend to be afraid of what we don't know. And until we start educating ourselves and opening ourselves and putting ourselves in different venues, we won't be able to really understand the other person and be empathetic when it comes to their life stories. So just learning and putting yourself out there be what I recommend.
The higher ed person encouraging people to learn. so surprising.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. I wasn't criticizing.
No,
I know.
I was like, this has been great for me.
Yeah,
Look all this advice that I've gotten. So thank you so much, for taking the time, for being on the script and sharing your journey, because I think it's important to share out this journey more often, because we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
So thank y'all so much. And this is part of our Rising 360 challenge. So like
Alright.
folks will like be able to enter the career fair early just by
Okay.
listening to you.
Awesome.
So
Great.
all the benefits around,
Yeah.
all the benefits around. So
Great to meet y'all.
yes, thank you so much. I'm gonna hit stop recording. And